Dog training is a completely unregulated industry in the United States. No minimum education or licensing is required. There's nothing stopping my friend who's owned a dog for the past 3 years and has taken one beginner obedience class their entire life from hanging a sign that says he's a dog trainer. And that's somewhat terrifying. Dog training is a buyer beware industry, and the consequences of employing an incompetent trainer to work with your dog can range from ineffective and a waste of money to traumatizing and life-threatening for the dog. So today, we're going to talk about 2 questions that you can ask to better screen the trainer you're interested in hiring to gain more candid and useful information. I want you to work with someone who not only has the skills, education, and experience to get results, but also meets you and your dog's needs in a compassionate and humane manner. These 2 questions will give you a wealth of information from your potential trainer, help you avoid hiring a bad trainer, and you probably haven't heard to use these before. And at the end of this video, I'll also be sharing a story of one of my own training failures and how it relates to finding the right trainer for you. Lots to cover today, so let's get to it. Hi, I'm Laura from DOGGY, and I'm a certified guide dog mobility instructor, service dog trainer, and trick trainer. And today we're going to talk about the important things you need to consider before hiring a trainer for you and your dog. Well, this video is going to focus on 2 out-of-the-box questions to ask a potential trainer. I want to start with a brief overview of other information you can use to make it more likely that you get the training outcomes and experience that's best for you and your dog. Considerations for hiring a trainer. Training approach. Be sure the trainer's approach matches your own values and ethics. Ask questions like, what will happen if my dog makes a desirable choice? And what will happen if my dog makes an undesirable choice? What tools will we be using to train? And under what circumstances will those tools be employed in training? Dog training methods and styles vary widely. Finding out what the training will actually look like is very important. Education. Education can be expensive, and not all trainers will have access to certain types of education. However, most good trainers will make education in some form a priority. Nobody knows all the things, and if someone says they have all the answers, run. You may come across trainers that have a formal education like a college or university degree in animal science or behavior, dog behavior or management, human psychology, or disability studies. However, most trainers will not have a college education in dog training. Generally, we want to look for trainers who have some type of certifying credential and then do independent research into what that credential actually means. Some credentials mean the trainer had online and/or hands-on education over the course of 3 years, while other credentials can be obtained by studying for a multiple choice test. These credentials are vastly different. Letters after someone's name are not all created equal. For your reference, I'm including my credentials and an explanation of those credentials on the screen, so pause the video here to read them. I'll also be putting them in the description for screen readers. Experience. Experience does not replace education, just like education does not replace hands-on experience. Ideally, you want both. In a perfect world, you're looking for a trainer that has significant training experience in the areas you need help with. Not all dog trainers train everything. So for example, even within service dogs, I specialize in guide dogs, mobility, and psych tests, along with public access work. I don't take on clients that need scent-based alerts or hearing dogs because even though I have experience with those things, they aren't my specialty. And though we're looking for a trainer with significant experience, don't get stuck on particular breed experience. I've had so many people reach out to me and ask if I had experience with a certain type of breed or hire me only because I have lots of German Shepherd dog experience. And while I understand the impulse to do so and having breed experience isn't a negative, it isn't wholly necessary for a good trainer. I had a person with a Shar Pei reach out to me and insist that Shar Peis train differently than other dogs. I went there, I trained the dog, it trained like a dog. A trainer with good experience and excellent problem-solving skills across a variety of scenarios will likely be able to use those skills to train your dog as well. Titles. You could also ask the trainer about titles they may have put on their own dogs. This isn't a necessity to me personally, as I know many trainers who often take in dogs that come from very difficult backgrounds, or dogs that would be impossible to place in a typical pet home. These dogs aren't always going to be the dogs that they are going to take to competitions. Competitions are also a huge time and resource expenditure, so are not a priority or accessible to everyone. However, some trainers really do enjoy competitive sports and putting titles on their dogs. So finding out if their own dogs have any titles may give you an idea of what the trainer might excel at or find enjoyable outside of their training business. It can also be helpful if you have eventual goals to pursue sports with your dog. For instance, if you're looking for pet or service dog training, but you'd also like to dabble in rally or duck diving, the trainer might be able to give you foundation exercises to do throughout your regular training to keep the training fun for you and your dog with skills you may be able to build on in the future. So while not a requirement, dog titles just might give you another data point to consider if your training goals will get more specific in the future. Network. This is critical. Who does your trainer consult with or turn to if they hit a roadblock while working with you? It's important that your trainer has other close colleagues that they can bounce ideas off of when they're looking to brainstorm. Stay away from trainers who believe they know all of the things and can fix all the problems no matter what. People who can't admit to themselves when they need a second opinion or to brainstorm with colleagues are not people that you want to work with. Video evidence or in-person observation. In the age of smartphones, you should be able to easily find videos of your trainer working with dogs. In fact, they should be proud to show them off to you. Watch as many of these videos as you can. Ideally, we want videos that are not cut for social media, as parts can be easily left out, leaving only the highlight reel. Several minute-long, unedited videos of training sessions are ideal if possible. When assessing these videos, we want to look for a few different things. Do the dogs look happy to work? Or are their ears pinned back and they're avoiding eye contact with the trainer for the majority of the session? A working dog isn't necessarily going to look thrilled all the time, but they should look relaxed and engaged when asked, without signs of fear or avoidance behavior. You may also be able to observe a class that the instructor is teaching. If they allow for this, it's in your best interest to observe before committing. Whether it's in person or on video, we want to see dogs that look relaxed and happy to work, as well as trainers who are helpful and encouraging to their students. There are many trainers that are really great with dogs, but their bedside manner needs a bit of work. I often see trainers who forget that positive reinforcement works on both animals and people. You as the learner deserve to be treated with just as much respect and kindness as your dog does. Talk to clients. Ask if it's possible to speak to current or past clients. The trainer will likely have a few handlers that would be willing to speak with you. Note that the trainer will obviously be giving you their most satisfied clients, but you can still learn a lot from talking to those who've worked with this trainer before. When reaching out to handlers, be sure to be brief and be conscious of the handler's time. Offerings. This is more logistical. Be sure to pick a trainer that provides the type of training, so in-home, group, day training, that you're looking to utilize with your dog. Not all trainers offer all types of training. Be sure to also check their booking availability. You and your trainer's schedule have to align for training together to be easy to book and successful. And that being said, if you're in a training desert, meaning there aren't a lot of quality options around you, finding a trainer online can often be a better option than the in-person trainer that's nearby but doesn't fit your criteria. I've been doing online training with service dog handlers for more than a decade, and while some training lends itself better to in-person sessions, the majority of training can be accomplished via live Zoom calls and video review of your training. Insurance. Make sure the business is insured. A professional trainer should have insurance for their business in the event that something goes wrong, and it's just another indicator that they're a professional in the industry. All right, y'all, before we talk about the 2 unconventional questions that you can use to learn more about a trainer, I want you to show me you're getting value from this video by heading on down and booping that like button. Doing so helps bring more viewers to the channel, which keeps the lights on over here at Doggy U headquarters, aka my guest bedroom. But soon it's gonna be my basement training studio, which is almost ready for a tour, sort of, so I'm really excited to show you that. All right, let's get back to it. Time to talk about those out-of-the-box questions. One of my favorite questions to ask a trainer is, what was the last training seminar you attended, book you read, or podcast you listened to on dog training, and what did you gain from it? I like this question because it tells you 3 things: how committed the trainer is to continuing education, what type of trainer or information they choose to consume, and what their personal training style is like based on what they thought of the seminar or podcast. That not only gives you info about their training style, but it also allows you to go review that educational material and see how it aligns with your values and goals. Now for the second question. Last year I was listening to a podcast series unrelated to dog training on failure, and it got me thinking about a question that can be used to glean even more information than the previous question about a potential trainer. What was the most recent mistake you made in your training? How did you fix it? And what did you learn from it? Okay, but why do we care about mistakes or failure? How we handle mistakes, failures, and setbacks, and what we learn from them tells us a lot about who a person is as a trainer. Because a trainer should not be afraid to admit that they've made mistakes or errors. They shouldn't be afraid to consult with another trainer on an issue if they need a second opinion or it's just not in their wheelhouse. And dog training is both a science and an art. No one has all the answers, but a person who thinks they do is just plain dangerous. By asking the trainer about the last mistake they made, you'll not only learn about how they handle failure, but also how they problem solve. And problem solving is one of the most critical components of being a good trainer. So in the spirit of transparency, I'm going to tell you a story about a recent training mistake that I made and how I handled it. It was a cruddy day outside and it'd been raining for nearly a week. Whip had been on a short bout of leash restriction for an injury and was getting pretty antsy. So I decided to pull out my shed antler dummies and train some shed hunt in the house, hiding the antlers around the house for the dogs to take turns finding. At the time, Jake was training sheds all the time, maybe on a weekly basis, but Cool Whip was pretty new to learning to shed hunt. So I prepared by bringing out the big guns, meatballs and chickens, two of Whip's favorites. So I'd shown up with good reinforcement, but I was overconfident in Whip's ability to understand the task that we were training, and I failed to warm her up for the activity to solidify her understanding. Meaning, I just jumped right into hiding the antlers in the house, assuming that her seeing me pull out the sheds was enough to cue her on what we were doing. So when I asked her to retrieve the antler that was hidden after her brother brought his back, she did not deliver me a shed. Instead of retrieving the hidden antler, she ran around the house a bit, then, not knowing what I was asking for, she ended up retrieving my medication, which made the most sense to her since I typically request a medication retrieve from her every day in the house. Whoops. So that's the error. Way overestimating my dog's ability to understand what we were doing through context clues for an activity that we had only done maybe a few times up until that point, when the most salient response to her was to retrieve the thing that I asked her to retrieve daily. So how did I handle it? First, I praised her for bringing the meds. I kept them with me so they're no longer the environment, so I managed the situation so that I limited her options and made her more successful. And then I took a step back and had her do a few retrieves of the shed right in sight, right after I threw them. And then I hid them in plain view as well. Then I went back and hid them again in the house. The next actually hidden shed, she nailed. So all I had to do was go back and explain to her what I was actually asking. I then made a mental note that I had never formally trained the name of the shed antler, so I added it to the list of things for me to train item discrimination for so that she could be better prepared in the future. So that's an example of a little training mistake that I made and how I fixed it. So if you're a professional trainer that watches my videos, here's what I would love for you to do. Join me. Tell me a recent training error that you made, whether it's accidentally overfacing your dog like I did, forgetting to bring reinforcement and having to improvise, or whatever other error you've made. And then tell me how you learned from it or what you learned from it. Because we're all human, we all make mistakes. It's what we learn from them that's the key to success. And while you're down there in the comments section, let me know what I missed. What other things should someone look for in a trainer that they're considering hiring? And if you want to see how I trained Whip to be able to retrieve antlers by name, even in the presence of my medication and other distractions, check out this video here, which will outline exactly how I teach item discrimination. You all have an awesome day and happy training.